Hey everybody, this is my first live video, as well as this is the first video that I've done on my phone, so if there's any malfunctions, I apologize. But basically, what I wanted to talk about in this video is I wanted to do a response to a comment made on my most recent video. I thought it would deserve a video response instead of just a response in the to the comment. Basically, the comment that was left in the most recent video asked why has it been taking so long. Essentially, he said, "Didn't I want to do this project for the last 10 years? Because I have. Since 2009 is when I wanted to do my version of the Bible. So why has it been taking so long? Why has it been 10 years and I still haven't come up with a version of the Bible for you guys?" I wanted to explain that in this video, why it's been taking so long. So basically, at that time, 2009, I was only 19 years old, and I knew a lot of things, but I knew that I had to learn the actual languages themselves to be fluent, to really do the translation properly. Because I don't know if you guys have heard of a popular translation called Et Sefer. That's one that's popular in the Messianic movement and Hebrew Roots movement. My personal opinion on that Et Sefer is that it is not well done, in the sense of it was done very cheaply, and like, if you compare their translation to other translations, there's not a lot of originality to their translation. It seems that for the most part they have copied other people's work and then tinkered around with it a little bit. My goal is to make a fresh version of the Bible from scratch, and to translate very differently, literally, and so I can't just take the easy route of looking at what other people say in their translations and copying most of their work. So starting over from scratch in and of itself takes a lot of work, and requires that I actually learn the languages and be fluent and fully learned in them. And that takes a long time. It's really difficult to learn these languages, and I want to learn them properly. I don't want to do a bad job at this project, so that's why it's been taking so long. And also, I have had to accumulate the resources. I've had to purchase a lot of resources over the years, because the Bible was translated from different manuscripts of all different kinds. There's manuscripts of the Septuagint, manuscripts of the Masoretic text, the Old Latin, there's the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that takes time to accumulate those resources and look through them, compare them, to determine which reading is the best reading. So that also has taken a lot of time. I have made a lot of progress with that. I have consulted the different versions, and I have a very good idea of which readings are better than the others. But even so, once I actually start the translation, I'm going to be going through every variant that I know of and trying to think about it from a very open-minded perspective of which reading is the best reading. And over time, my understanding of that has changed. My understanding of what the best readings are has evolved with new knowledge, and that has shifted my understanding. And my theology and beliefs have changed over time, which also shapes the goals of the project. And ever since 2009, I've really been focused on trying to figure out which books should be part of the Bible, basically the canon, the canonization process. And I have looked into that subject more than most people, and there are hundreds of books out there which I believe should be part of the Bible, but they are all in varying degrees of accuracy, and they have different levels of manuscripts. So some books require a lot more work than others. And recently, in the last few years, and I would say in the last 4 years, I've come to understand something has been radically altered with the scriptures. I have basically come to the realization that most of the books of the Old Testament and some of the books of the New Testament have actually been radically changed from their original versions. So much so that in many cases, we don't have any copies of what the original said. And I believe the original of most of these books had many different readings, longer passages, shorter passages sometimes, passages in a very different order. There were just so many changes made. And so through my research and study, I have come to realize that the Bible, it's this project, I'm not just going to be translating these manuscripts. I'm going to be reconstructing manuscripts that no longer exist. The basic idea is, what did the original say? Can we have an idea? And I believe we can have a good idea what the original said. At least we can get something closer and more accurate than what we currently have. My work is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the original text. So that disclaimer will be there, that people have to understand that my work is a work in progress. It's subject to error, but what we have right now is full of errors and full of problems. So I'm going to try to fix those errors using textual criticism that I've developed. My unique understanding of textual criticism, because most textual criticism is based on people who don't believe the Bible is authoritative. I believe it is authoritative. And so my work comes from that unique perspective of the Bible is inspired by God. So, but my textual criticism ideas are many times in line with what the scholars say. And it's very radical in many ways. I go even farther than the scholars in many things of how I believe the originals are to be reconstructed. So that's why it's taking a long time, because I have to basically figure what's there that's not there, and that takes a lot of time to try to figure things out like that. I use parallel passages. That's a good way of doing it. Other books may quote things, and internal context, something should be said there and it wasn't said there, so something probably is missing. It's principles like that I'll be utilizing. Also, there are other things that I believe are keys to figure out what should not be there. Things that sound awkward, things that it doesn't sound like what the author would say. It sounds like what a scribe would say who's trying to explain away something or to explain to the readers how to understand something. So it's principles like that that I'll be utilizing, but you can imagine that's a very complicated and difficult thing, and I take it seriously. I don't want to mess the scriptures up, so it's going to take a long time to really render things properly. And someone asked, do I believe some of God's word have been lost? Absolutely, I do. There are books of the prophets mentioned in the Old Testament, quoted. Consult these books of the prophets, it says, and we don't have those books anymore. So I definitely think some of his words have been lost, not just from these extra books, but from the books of the Old Testament. But I'm going to do my best to try to, as best as possible, using the resources we have, to figure out the closest we can to the original for each of the books. And I will put in footnotes, variants, as well as explanations of why I rendered things a certain way. So, and then you guys can make your own conclusions from your own studies. My version is not supposed to be the say-all, end-all. It's supposed to be to give you guys something, a alternative, and then you can do your own research based on what I have prepared for people. So that in and of itself, that's why it's taking so long in many aspects for that. And then I have also recently decided I need to study some of the literature of the surrounding cultures of the time period, the ancient literature such as the Akkadian, also known as Babylonian and Assyrian. They have many writings which are, they parallel a lot of ideas in the Bible. So I want to read and study those languages, and likewise the Ugaritic, it's called Ugaritic. It's basically is very similar to Hebrew, and it's very old, ancient writings. The scholars date it to around the time of Moses, basically. And those writings, the Ugaritic writings, they are written by the Canaanites, but those writings have shocking parallels to the writings of the Bible. So I'm going to be studying those and incorporating the wisdom from and the cultural understanding from those other writings. So all that study takes time, and like I said, I want to do this properly. I want to give you guys something that is truly worthy of being called the Bible. And so but the main reason why it's taking so long is I just don't know the languages well enough to translate it adequately. I could translate it. I can translate things and have a good translation comparatively to other translations, but I want to do a very good translation. And to do that, you need to be fluent, absolutely, and you just have to have so much knowledge of the language, and I'm not there yet. And it's difficult to learn these languages, especially when you don't have a lot of time. I have a full-time job now, and so there's a lot of distractions in life. Life has full of distractions. I'm not giving up on this project. It's going to take some more time, but I promise that it is coming, and I believe I will be able to start the actual translation process in the next couple years. But I'll keep you guys updated, and I'm thinking of doing a regular update starting soon, where I might start sharing with you guys like things I've discovered in my research, so that you guys aren't left wondering what's going on with this project. So maybe, like, as I'm doing the project, I can show you guys how it's progressing. I think that might be a good way to do it. So I'm going to keep you guys in the loop. Question was asked, who were the Qumran people, I believe the question was asked. I'm not sure how to scroll back to previous messages, but I think that was one of the questions. I believe they were the Essenes, but some people think they weren't called the Essenes. To me, it doesn't really matter what they were called in ancient times. Josephus called them the Essenes. I believe the group that Josephus was talking about was the Essenes, was the Qumran community, and some people speculate that the name Essene was not used, and Josephus made up that term. It's possible he did, but the group existed, and I think there's a lot of evidence to conclude that the group that Josephus was talking about is the same group affiliated with the Qumran manuscripts, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then someone asked about the super chat. I'll have to check if I have that or not. I might need to unlock that or something, but I'll double check. Anyways, wait, was one more question. Is it true that Yahweh was a part of the Ugaritic pantheon of gods? Asherah was his consort. So the little I've looked into it, it's my understanding that Yahweh is equated with Baal in the Ugaritic text. It's not referred to as Yahweh. There's no mention of Yahweh. There's a mention of Baal, though, and there's a mention of El and Asherah. It's El and Asherah which are the couple, and so it's my understanding that you have that Yahweh is not the spouse of Asherah, like you have seen some people say, because there have been archaeological finds which said Yahweh and his Asherah. So some people believe that means Yahweh and his wife Asherah, but as far as I know, it doesn't actually say wife in those texts, and that's an assumption on the part of some of these scholars. I think his Asherah is referring to the mother figure over basically Yahweh's mother. And oh man, it's starting to snow. So I think that I think just like you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, a lot of people think the Holy Spirit is a male, like Christianity refers to all three as he, which is due to the language issue. English language doesn't have gender anymore. Latin, Greek, they all render the gender of the Holy Spirit differently. I think in Greek, I forget which, it's Greek or Latin. One of them has the gender as neuter. Holy Spirit is a neuter in it. And then in the other language, it is a he. And then, of course, in Hebrew, spirit is feminine. So there's books such as the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of the Hebrews, which Gospel of Hebrews no longer exists, but we have quotes in the Church Fathers, and the Gospel of the Hebrews has some quotes of the Holy Spirit being the mother, the divine mother. So I think the fact that the New Testament has Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as mother, so Father, Son, Mother, Holy Spirit, I think that's a parallel with Baal as the son and Asherah as the mother. I didn't see that last comment. Could you comment that one more time, the person who just made that comment, please? If not, then I will probably end the video. But I think I'll see the comment in the comment section, or I'll just rewatch the video. And a Qumran Bible. I don't think the Qumran Bible is. I don't think it's valid, but I'll look into it again just to double check. But from what I've looked at it, the little I've looked at it, it doesn't seem valid to me. But I'll give it another check. And maybe I'll do more things like this where I'll just do a video and you guys can ask questions, because this is kind of nice to do, I think, because people seem to have lots of questions on different subjects. So I'll try to do these kind of videos on a more regular basis. Anyways, it's getting cold and I'm going to go back inside. My lunch break's almost over, and hopefully this video will explain to you guys why it's been taking so long. What is my opinion on sentient beings? Well, I think all beings are sentient. I think animals, plants, the elements, I think they all are alive, just like you and I. They have spirits. They have maybe not souls, but they have a consciousness. They are aware. They know things. They have memories. They have feelings, emotions, thoughts. They can pray to God, and that they will all be judged just like we will be judged. We will be judged based on how we obey what has been given to us. We have a rule in this life, and we are to follow that rule. And if we don't follow it adequately, we will be punished. If we follow it properly, we will be rewarded. That is my understanding, and we can talk more about that in another video. The sentient being thing. That's really important. That's a really important issue to me, by the way. What are sentient beings? But anyways, I'll end it now, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. Shalom, and God bless you guys. Peace.